My name is Teddy Otieno and I'll be your host this evening on CheckMate. We'll start off with the NADCO report, the National Dialogue Committee report, and of course the 10-point agenda, the new task force, of course the controversies surrounding it and the wider political climate, which we'll touch on a bit later. Maybe perhaps for the sake of our listeners, to your understanding, what does the NADCO report bring to the fore?
We are lucky to have such kind of a constitution that provides and protects for such rights. You go to other countries, go to Sudan, South Sudan, go to Uganda, go to Tanzania, you find that their constitutions and the architecture in those constitutions and matters rights are not architectured the manner in which Kenyan constitution is architectured. And more than that, I think each time we are faced with circumstances such as those that we did this year, whether it was Sabasaba, whether it was protests to do with June 25th, 2024, etc. and whatnot, it continues to show that Kenya is really a strong democracy. And with the recent developments, for instance, we know that on 6th of August, President William Ruto and Honorable Raila Odinga jointly came up with a team that is to oversee matters to do with implementation of the NADCO report and the MOU between ODM and UDM.
To which you were elected vice?
The vice chair there.
Correct.
For me, the issue is that Kenya continues to demonstrate that we are learning from events and circumstances. Of course, if you ask me, I will tell you that it is unfortunate that we had individuals losing lives. It is unfortunate that we had circumstances where some police officers used excessive force and even eliminated extrajudicially some individuals. And we have got institutions. We have got IPOA, we have got the National Police Service, we have got the civil society that outside the duty bearers that are government. And all these have demonstrated that indeed democracy is a project that is continually being developed. And whether it's in the next, right now we are celebrating 15 years since the promulgation, since the Constitution of Kenya 2010 came into place. In the next 20 years, in the next 30 years, we will see that still that parchment heritage that is our Constitution will continue being pressed and tested by the people, by events and circumstances to see how it can be perfected, because that's our heritage.
You know, we are from a history whereby every time in electioneering, after election, and especially presidential election, you find that we are in the long side of history. You get that there is a side which feels that they are not happy, and the other side is celebrating. Actually, now implementing the NADCO report, it starts from what I was saying, the process. So you get that elections should not be life and death. Actually, it should be like a celebration, like what we have seen today, what Harambee Stars they have done. So when you look at the NADCO report, we have the marginalized people in our society. Even the Constitution is very clear. We have the positive affirmative. What are we supposed to target these marginalized people? The Constitution is very clear how they are supposed to be compensated. It is, it is about, when we look at this new Constitution of 2010, it explained about leadership, integrity, inclusivity, and how we are supposed to manage ourselves. So that a Kenyan who is not a part of Kenya, the other one from the other side, let me say the port of Sirari, from the port of the side of Western,
yes,
you get that all these Kenyans, they will feel inclusive, part of the government.
You know, the recommendations of which Javas is part of that team, there's some key recommendations that are made there. And of course, Kenyans out there are looking at it from two angles. Some are saying this, in a way, it strengthens governance. But then there are others who are calling it more or less political accommodation because we are a political state. In one way or the other, people are looking at it, is Honorable Raila Odinga or Honorable Ruto just simply, awarding their followers, so to speak.
It is not about the constitution. It's about constitutionalism. If we understand about implementation, actually, the way you stated, our constitution is one of the comprehensive document, not only in Africa, even across the world. If you look at that document, it can solve all our issues we are discussing about. But the challenge is about, are we prepared to have the mechanism of this constitution? Mm-hmm. Because what you're saying, politics, it changes from time to time. Like now, there's something being discussed about broad-based coalitional government. Mm-hmm. When you look at critically, the constitution, how we are supposed even to form these alliances, before election, we should have an alliance, and post-election. And when you go back to the constitution, even when you want to make this broad-based government, is it inclusive with all Kenyans?
Kenyan politicians continue to be very innovative and creative in how they create spaces or expand spaces to accommodate their political interests and situations. And you see, let's face it, when you look at Article 38 of the Constitution, provides for political engagement activities, participation, formation of political parties, and advocating or standing for a particular political agenda. Political parties are critical pillars for the advancement of democracy in Kenya, and it's been institutionalized. And we know that the import of political parties is to gain power, to access power, to control power, distribute resources for the greater good of the people. And that is why we see that outside the prevailing framework within the constitution about even not having the opposition, because our constitution does not provide for an opposition. But we know that circumstances at times, and because of trying to create an equilibrium, political machinations, political activities necessitate such kind of formations. These formations are for creating balance of power, creating control, and also outmaneuvering opponents. The more shrewd you are, the more you outmaneuver your opponents. And I can say that Kenyan politics exemplify Machiavellianism, and that while we may say that some people have argued that it goes against the will of the people, that the people, for example, voted by majority for President William Ruto against Honorable Raila Odinga. But when you look at post-election circumstances,
correct,
especially in 2024, necessitated that President William Ruto reaches out and clenches his fists and engages with his initially erstwhile political nemesis. And now they are bosom buddies. Even today, as we congratulate our ambassadors for winning their match today, we've seen President William Ruto and Honorable Raila Odinga walking side by side, sitting side by side, and cheering the team on in the great spirit of patriotism. So I would say that it is the political circumstances that necessitate. Look, today, those who were enemies before 2022 are now buddies. When you look at our constitution provides, and I had him cite Article 10 sub Article 2, about public participation is a critical component of governance. And the issues, for example, in the 10-point agenda, while they are germane issues in governance, but particularly bringing the interests of these two political parties together, they are not issues that are unique to ODM and UDA. They are issues that touch on the lives of everybody else. Look, for instance, our committee on overseeing the implementation of NADCO and the MOU is going to look at issues to do with fighting graft, engaging the people and other stakeholders on wastage of public resources, the issues of the rule of law and constitutionalism that even Dr. mentioned a little earlier, issues to do with compensation of victims. Now, that's a social justice issue. Others have argued that the path forward should have been matters reparations. But look, we have never had compensations in this country before within a framework of governance. And President William Ruto appointed Professor Makau Mutua to coordinate the matters of compensation within the next 120 days. So we must appreciate that while it's not about sweeping below the carpet matters to do with the justiciability of those police officers who may have used excessive force, it is important for us to appreciate that that component of compensation is very critical. It demonstrates an appreciation of the fact that there was life lost, and the state here is taking charge to commiserate with the families of the loved ones, etc. But beyond that, as we look at matters compensation, what may be very important is to say, how can we guard against excessive use of force in future? Another thing, for instance, is to do with corruption, enhancement of devolution. When you look at wastage of public resources, we see such wastage within county governments, within ministries, etc. So, and then we have got the issue of the national debt. These are not issues that just concern ODM and UDA. These are issues that actually are central to the existence, progress, and prosperity of Kenya and all Kenyans.
Do we have an opposition?
Yes, we have an opposition, and it's very strong.
In doing what?
The opposition is strong because opposition generally is voicing or taking a position that is antithetical to the government of the day. Rigathi Gachagua is in the opposition.
Raila Odinga?
Raila Odinga says that he is cooperating with President William Ruto in this broad-based arrangement, but that he's not in government. Well, of course, you may agree with him that he's holding no particular political power or office in government today, but as they've said, they've donated some experts to join this government in this broad-based arrangement. But the opposition is strong. We are seeing Matiang'i, we are seeing Munya, we are seeing Rigathi Gachagua. But the question is this: what kind of opposition do we have? If opposition is beyond issues of crafting alternative policies and hoping that Kenyans can elect you in the next election to take power, or any other election in future, if it's about drumming tribal politics, if it's about failing to appreciate that we're a polyethnic state and that coexistence of nation, of communities, groupings is very important, then we can say that we have got a strong opposition that is headed in the very wrong direction. Look, let's face it. When we are discussing issues of governance, even as we are in this studio, I don't know which community from which Daktari comes, or myself, or even listeners here. What is important is that how can we strengthen the fabric of governance in Kenya? When we reduce politics to ethnic identities, as I've heard even Gachagua, for example, arguing that Kikuyus now should come and work with Kamba so that we can drive President William Ruto out of power. And then after that, what? I mean, we need to have better arguments to make Kenya a better country, so that our children, our great-grandchildren, or our grandchildren should say that our parents fought for a better country that is united, that is homogeneous, not divided. And that's why even when we're talking about matters devolution, and you asked Daktari that with the conference that has just has had its curtains close, how useful are these conferences? And I would answer quite firmly: we don't need these conferences. They don't help, at least now. When during the advent of devolution, it was important so that citizens can understand what devolution is, institutions, and how all these, when you look at the fourth schedule, the functions that have been devolved, etc., people to appreciate. Today, all these conferences, for example, if you were to ask, what has it aided? Now, we have got pseudo federalism in South Africa. We have got federalism in Nigeria. We've got federalism in the US. Do you see them having conferences?
No.
So, my point is, we don't need these conferences. What we need is to see county governments working. We want to see that there is much more money going into development expenditure than recurrent expenditure in county governments. We want to see balance in employment opportunities within county public service boards. We want to see governors being keen, delivering on the county integrated development plans. Not about conferences. The other thing is this. We have had investor conferences from 2014, the first one being in Machakos. Big deals being signed, and investors from Qatar and everywhere else being touted to take up some development initiatives. There is no single county in this country of the 47 that had an investment summit or conference, and then from that we saw industries mushrooming within county governments. So I think we need to rethink how we drum up support for devolution, we hold governors to account. But if it's about creating opportunities, festivals for purposes of meeting and greeting, I mean, you don't need to use public funds for that.
Mwananchi down there on the ground, they want to see a government whereby prices of goods are lowered. They are able to access their responsibility while going to the jobs. But when you look at the government is it appears very attractive. It is about promises, and actually now Kenyans are they are not tolerating issues dealing with what promises. What they need down there is about actions. Like now the youths, we have many youths now who have graduated from universities. Being a lecturer, every year we graduate many students, but when it comes to the job market, we don't have, they are unable to access jobs. Like the way I stated, some companies, industries, they are running away from what? From our country. We should ask ourselves why these companies for all these years are running away. I could rather propose that we should have conferences where we are discussing issues of the economy, number one.
Correct.
You know, if we are only concerned with the rhetorics or politics, at the end of the day we'll be repeating ourselves. Election will come and it will just go. But Kenyans will also remain and start what? Complaining the same thing. Like what my brother was saying, those who were in opposition last time, they are now in the government. You know, the opposition side donated some experts to the government. Let us be clear, or sincere. When they joined the government, have they assisted? You know, President Ruto is a genius. You know, they were the same people who were complaining, oh, the government is not doing well. He has given them a chance. Now they are in the government. And I would rather say that even those who were there, they were doing better than these experts at the moment. So that, you know, now you can see they are exposed. Those who are making noise, they are in the government. But we have not seen a change.
The opposition.
Because still we are sleeping what? I'm talking about the experts.
Correct.
You remember those experts?
Yes.
The likes who are donated to the government.
The Wandaris.
Okay. Let us condone that. It is not political hygiene. Kenyans condoned to have experts from opposition who are supposed to not only criticizing, to give an alternative opinion to the government. Have they done their job? I don't think. That's why sometimes Kenyans say that they were looking at their own self-interest because they have not assisted the president to make the government stable. People are struggling. Then where do we say that now these are the experts which will approach the government so that they can assist what? So it is just a narrative.
The infighting, quote unquote, within ODM party, for instance, we've seen Sifuna, Kalonzo, and away from that there is also DAP, and with DAP now we're seeing Eugene Omalu on this side, Governor Natembeya on this other side, and of course the dynamics of what we've called the opposition this evening, the Gachaguas of this world. Let's start with your rejoinder to Daktari's comments, and then now we jump into politics.
Well, I would say that it's not about joining the government by the experts from ODM to destabilize. In any case, we have and we all appreciate, for example, look at how Honorable Mbadi has handled and is managing issues to do with the Treasury docket. 2024 was a challenging year with regard to Finance Bill 2024. But in 2025, we have seen the Honorable Mbadi even engaging in discussions with ordinary Kenyans so that they get to understand what was in the Finance Bill at the time, now Finance Act, engaging with Bunge la Mwananchi, engaging in town halls, engaging in various media discussions, even at universities. 2025, we never had any protests against Finance Bill 2025 at the time. So we can say that we must appreciate that every person has got an ability and capacity to serve in whichever ways. We have seen finance ministers before, we have seen cabinet secretaries before, others will come in the future. Kenyans have got capacity. Maybe Daktari here someday will be a principal secretary or something, or maybe even cabinet secretary. Kenyans have got capacity. We've got too many people to serve. And so when an individual has got capacity and is picked from a party that is not in government, and such capacity is needed in a particular docket, let them do their best at that time. Trouble is that in Kenya, we always wear the political lenses, and those lenses are prejudiced. Such that today, somebody will look at, for example, Mbadi or Oparanya, and if that person is in DCP, will not have any kind words for Mbadi, for example. Today, I can assure you, there is nearly a snowball's chance in hell that somebody in DCP will heap praise on any policy that government is streamlining or rolling out. Today, if you find somebody, for example, in DAP, because they are trying to cobble up an opposition that will try to galvanize issues towards 2027, they will not speak favorably about anything in government. I think we need to come to a point and say a particular policy is good, even if you're in the opposition, or say it can be made better. Because really, we are all right-thinking Kenyans. We need to say, this is working, this is fairly working, but it can be ameliorated. And I think that's the kind of democracy that can take Kenya forward. Look at how it is even in the UK, or even in the US, or even in the Scandinavia. People are ideologically driven. That somebody will say, my political ideology is this, or within a particular political faction, and they will oppose the other faction on ideology, not on hatred, not on matters tribalism. Political Parties Act, Amendment Act 2022, Section 3 provides that each political party must have a statement of ideology. That's the Political Parties Act. Today, ask even any member of any political party in this country, on the streets of Nairobi, or even in Busia, or even in Kilifi, which party do you belong to? What is the ideology of that party? So why we have all these prejudices in our politics, mostly, is because our political parties have failed and are still failing due to absence of firm, strong ideologies that constitute the backbone or drive that which drives the agenda of the party and even informs the manifestos that are created. And that is why, if you are to conduct a spot check of all manifestos in Kenya, as it's been said many times, you will not see any difference amongst these manifestos.
It is not me who want to run, but you know, my Gen Z students everywhere, you know, they are now frustrated with what is happening around. They have started proposing that I think Mwalim, being one of our lecturer who's teaching us good values about the Constitution, about governance, if in case you just get this opportunity, I can be a savior for them. Because, you know, when you look at our country now, we are in a desperate situation. Actually, that is the truth. if you ask any constitutional lawyer, I know my friend, he understands about the constitution, about democracy. The truth is, me, I believe in a democracy where we have a government, whether you like it or not. Like now, I might not support the government of the day, but who knows? What is important, when we have a government and we have the opposition side, they would be able to check the other one. Like now, when you look at the executive now controls even parliament and to some extent to the judiciary. And once we have a very powerful executive, let me tell you, we will not go, our democracy will not improve. That's why you get that most of our legislators, they don't decide by their own. I've heard that they are given handouts. If you want a bill to pass in the parliament, you have to see them somewhere.
Even the president was talking about it.
So, and that is the truth. That is what we are talking about, corruption. If you look at the article I was citing in our constitution, you know, this is something, it is like a cancer in this country. Unless we accept, you know, if you don't accept your mistake, you will not be able to improve. Yes, we have good laws, statutes, our constitution is good, but that is not enough. It is us, it is the readers who are supposed to show a good example.
In ending, for you, looking at all these issues we've discussed and coming to this moment, which way, Kenya?
Kenyans need to appreciate that progress is the only thing that should push us every single day. And that when we've got frameworks in place, for instance, to ensure that we've come up with mechanisms of combating corruption within our society, having values. And remember that when we talk about fighting corruption, it's not just about government institutions. It must be personal. It must start from ourselves, from the individuals. When we talk about wastage of public resources, it is something that we must be keen on. And if we're saying that we want to ensure public institutions on the guidelines of Public Finance Management Act and Public Finance Management Regulations, and looking at the Auditor General's reports and the Control of Budgets reports, that let's say we want to have a country that, if we're talking about austerity measures, then these austerity measures are practical. Secondly, an entity such as the committee overseeing the implementation of the NADCO report and the MOU, it is for the greater good of the country. If we are saying that we want to reduce wastage, we want to fight corruption, let's do. As a country, we cannot stand by and see institutions being lame or being inefficient or inept. Whenever there's an opportunity for us to make things better, let us have and be driven by the goodwill. Make sure that we come together with all the good intentions, with all the spirit of patriotism, to make sure that each single day is an opportunity for us to make Kenya better.